Hello and welcome to another Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing the film Priscilla, directed by Sofia Coppola. This film focuses on the relationship between Priscilla and Elvis Presley. It's an interesting contrast with Baz Luhrmann's Elvis last year. As you would expect, Luhrmann gave us all the glory and excitement of Elvis. The film did have its darker elements, the pills, the influence of Colonel Tom Parker. Priscilla is in the film, but in a very minor role. All in all, even with the darker moments, Luhrmann's film gave us a rousing celebration of Elvis. He really revelled in the glory of Elvis's music. Priscilla is a very, very different film. The film is based on Priscilla Presley's book, Elvis and Me, and provides an insight into what clearly was a complex and controversial relationship. Although Elvis is very much present in this film, he isn't in the lead role. This is very much the Elvis story from Priscilla's perspective. In many respects, it's a really disturbing story. It's a very strange story, and the film does a really good job in telling it in a very measured and non-sensationalist way. Priscilla was 14 when Elvis met her, and he was 10 years older. Although no underage sex took place, we do see a depiction of them holding hands and kissing. I think the film is really successful in not making any obvious judgments, almost just putting the facts in front of us and letting them speak for themselves. The fact that this is based on Priscilla's book and she's an executive producer on the film testifies to the film's accuracy, I think. There's no getting around the fact that Elvis is an adult, and not only that, a global superstar celebrity. In today's Me Too climate, we're now much more aware of how this type of power has been abused to gain sexual favour. From the moment that Priscilla was invited to the party where she first meets Elvis, she almost didn't have a chance. What makes it worse in this situation is that she's a 14-year-old girl. At one level, the film doesn't hold back from showing us that this is a man and a girl. I mentioned sexual favour, and I think it's important that Elvis's agenda clearly wasn't about sex. He thought he was being a gentleman and looking after her interests. But we see that this is possibly a very selfish act too. Elvis almost obsessively wants to keep her pure. Even when she's old enough to have sex, he withholds this from her. Meanwhile, he's off having fun with other women while still controlling her life. I like that the film doesn't make judgments and it gives plenty of ambiguity. There is a sense in which Priscilla does play a really important role for Elvis. Despite the crazy celebrity life he was living, perhaps there was an element to which a younger, more innocent part of his personality found comfort in a friendship with this uncomplicated child. But even here, it's all on his terms. It's all quite selfish. I think it's arguable that this isn't really a film about Elvis at all. It's actually a film about how a power imbalance in a relationship can result in the exploitation and abuse of the weaker partner, even in a situation where it could be argued that there is some kind of real love between the two. In this way, I think this is a really excellent film and contributes to a better understanding of how power dynamics can work in relationships. All that said, the fact that this is a film with Elvis in it isn't completely ignored. Elvis is such an icon, and I do think this film gives us a better understanding than we've previously had of some of his complexities. Jacob Elordi is fantastic in the role of Elvis, not least because it's really difficult to follow up Austin Butler's amazing performance as Elvis last year. But more than this, he gives a performance which feels like a genuine, authentic Elvis, while never stealing the limelight in the film. Kaylee Spaini is the real star of the film. She gives a fantastic performance as Priscilla, and the transformation from a child into a woman, into a mother. In advance of seeing this film, I really wasn't sure that I was that interested in it. However, in the end, I really enjoyed it. If I did have one critique of it, I think that towards the end, The pacing doesn't feel quite as tight as it was through the first 3/4 of the film. It really had been perfect up until that point. This is a small criticism, however. The film is interesting and compelling. This is such a strange and inappropriate relationship. This film highlights this in itself, which gives us a greater understanding of what Elvis was really like and what Priscilla has been through. But in addition, I think it also manages to extract universal points about unbalanced relationships out of the story. And its real success is doing this in a non-judgmental way that allows us to react to this strange story in our own way. I've been thinking about it a lot afterwards, and that's always a good sign. I would highly recommend this film. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.